Hello and welcome to a very special Thursday evening preview of On the Other Hoop. We are in classic mode now on the flat, and the girls get their chance tomorrow afternoon as the Investec Oaks go to post. We've also got 4 other races to cover on Channel 4, varying between handicap company and a couple of group races as well. It should be a fantastic day of racing, and here to preview it alongside myself is Adam Webb and Callum Liddell as per normal. Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I feel that because we're on a Thursday, we're a little bit out of the groove. That was a very Usually, Adam's happy to be here.
We've got Royal Ascot coming up, so we're going to have to be in the groove all week. So
yeah, there is that.
Evenings are going to be interesting.
Yeah, there is that. But we've got the Oaks to get out of the way first. We've got the Derby as well coming up on Saturday. But one step at a time. It's a decent race tomorrow, the Oaks, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it's better than the Derby, I think. But it's a really interesting race. I mean, you've got Legitissimo, which we'll go into later, and there are various horses. I think there are some in there that are underpriced, and there's 1 or 2 I think are overpriced. It's a much better race than the Derby. The Derby, it's a strange race. I mean, it could be a race, the Derby. I'll say this now. We could look back on it at the end of the year, and it actually could be an all right Derby. But at this moment in time, it's just that's the best way to describe the Derby. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. The first race is just but apart from that, I'm looking forward to the rest of the card.
We have just got price-wise in, and the 2 o'clock he's gone for Bold Lass. The 2:35 at Epsom we've got Seagull Star, and the Strong Exhale was of Callum's regulation in the 3:45, and in the Oaks he's gone for Al-Nama at 14s. Al-Nama. It doesn't really matter what you call it, isn't it? We're going to start with a tweet actually, because we had one from Hattie Fuller, a mega fan, saying, "I'm not ready for this, guys. It's Thursday. Put me right out of my routine." We apologise for that. We know you have a working routine, but thank you for joining us anyway, Hattie. The first race we're going to be covering is the 2 o'clock at Epsom. But before I do that, I should have really known this. I should have known it. You can get in touch with us, like Hattie did. At On the Other Hoop is our Twitter tag. We'll read out every single question and fancy at the end of the show after we've given you our concise and most likely wrong thoughts on the day's action over at Epsom. But as mentioned, we are starting with the 2 o'clock, the Princess Elizabeth Group 3 over 1 mile and 114 yards. 10 runners go to post here, Adam, and it looks
Group 3, but there's only 2 in the race that I think are worthy of group status, and that's the Odolitz and Lightning Thunder. And Odolitz is clear favourite. She deserves to be. For me, she brings the best form into the race. She was second last year, Woodbine to Just a Gesture, and other fancy horses that they disappointed. Drop back and trip isn't really an issue for me, and I think she is the one to beat. Lightning Thunder, she went the wrong way last year, and on comeback I'm willing to forgive her because I think the ground was too soft for her, and the ground should be fine for her tomorrow. She will rate as the main danger, but I couldn't back her with any confidence. The rest, to me, this is where I will look stupid. I don't think any of them are good enough personally, and I think it is between these 2. If Lightning Thunder can put her best foot forward, I wouldn't be surprised to see her win, but I'd rather side with Odolitz.
I thought Odolitz ran really well in the Middleton last time out behind Secret Gesture. We were talking a bit earlier off air, though, that we're not 100% sure that Odolitz puts 100% in, because she came there travelling so strongly in the Middleton, and she was about 3 or 4 lengths still behind Secret Gesture. Was given an enterprising front-running ride that day, but Odolitz went from travelling very strongly to not finding anything and looking quite labelled to finish back in 4th in the end. So that's got to be a worry coming into here, albeit she did finish 2nd in this race last year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Class horse of the race, but I'm just not really convinced that she really does it for win purposes. I mean, she hasn't won since 2013. She's had the chance to win since then. I mean, if she runs on form to what she did last year, then I've got absolutely no doubt she'll win, but I could definitely leave her at 3-1.
Well, we're both taking 1 and each way price. We're taking slightly different horses, but we do have slight fancies for one. I'm going to side with Amulet, Ryan Moore riding for Eve Johnson Horton. There's 16-1. I just feel that if she can get out in front and set a decent pace, then she could take some catching. She's the kind of horse that will act quite nicely around Epsom, and she put in a really a decent effort last time out in the same sort of company. That wasn't her comeback run as well after about 5 months off. So if she can build on that effort, then she should post a nice display tomorrow. But saying that, she has got quite a bit to find on official ratings with the likes of Lightning Thunder. She's £12 behind on official ratings and £10 behind Odolitz. But with those little worries that we have expressed about Lightning Thunder, who was disappointing last time. I don't think there's any other way to describe it at Lingfield. Over 7 furlongs, again in a Group 3. And Odalisque, as we mentioned, I'm not 100% sure that Odalisque puts it all in, albeit she is probably the class angle of the race. I just feel that 16-1, if Amulet does run to her best, then she could prove a tough nut to crack in front. And the other one, for an each way purpose, is Lamar, that you're also quite keen on.
Yeah, I like Kendrick. I just think she's rock solid, really consistent filly that's just steadily improving. A couple of good runs, well, one behind Bragan. I thought she ran a lovely race, and then behind the Corsican, which I think is rock solid form. You know, I think she's got a bit to find, but I'm just not convinced by a lot of them. Bold Lass is coming in from scraping in handicaps, and Lightning Thunder ran such a poor race on her return, and the rest are just, you know, not even really listed class. So I prefer Lamar at the prices to most of these, if I'm honest. So
yeah, the fact that we're putting up each way prices, I wouldn't suggest that we're really keen on something at a big price. It's more the fact that it's a very open race, and we can just see this horse maybe sneaking into a place and running or flying its bigger odds. But it is a tough race to get us started off here. On the other hoof, maybe a more open race is the T35, the Investec Wealth and Investment Handicap, over 1 mile, 2 furlongs, and the all-important 18 yards. Adam, 13 runners here going to post, and you're quite keen on one of the Mark Johnston Battalion, we'll call them.
Yeah, when the entries came out for this race, it was a name that jumped off the page in Snocking Star, who finally won again at Chelmsford last time out. But interesting to note is the fact that he won off 95 and he went up in the handicap on your weather. But if you look at his mark tomorrow, he runs off 94. So I think he's really interesting, and I think it's a type of race he's been laid out for. He always pops up in one of these big handicaps, and he did it at Goodwood last year when he was a relatively big price. I know Joe Fanning would have had the choice, but then Paul Mulrennan did ride Firefighting, who has a £6 penalty, but who won the Zetland Gold Cup, and I think it is between those two. Firefighting, he's so consistent, so tough, and a typical Mark Johnston horse, but I think Snocking Star, getting that much weight from him, I think is the one to beat. Of the rest, I followed What About Carlo practically off the cliff. I thought he was a good thing when he ran over course and distance 2 starts ago, and he was really disappointing. He's got first-time blinkers, and he won at this meeting last year, so he could go well. Seagull Star, I think, wants further, and I think he'll come on for this run a fair amount. And of the rest, Trey Coronas could run well. I quite liked him last year. His form did tail off in the middle of last season, but I think the ground has come right for him, and it would be no surprise to see him run well. So Snocking Star for me is the clear one to beat, though.
I get the angle on Snocking Star coming back to a bit of form. I just feel that maybe he might be more of a proposition for something like Goodwood once more after Epsom.
With about 12 runs in between.
Yeah, with about 12 runs in between. But saying that, well, as you mentioned, he did win at Chelmsford last time out, but it was a very ugly win. He was the first one off the bridle, and he got lifted home by Sylvester de Souza. It wasn't the best of races either. So coming into this, I'd be a bit worried about his form in general. I think the one that we're in agreement on is the other Mark Johnston runner that you completely ignored. You went for Firefighting. I think you made the point earlier on. Master of Finance has got the best form out of the 3, the best recent form anyway.
I think so, yeah.
And it's a very valid point, finishing second to Marsoub, who looks like Marsoub could be a pretty decent animal, and First Flight was back in 3rd. They're 2 pretty decent horses in the handicap sphere at the moment that could potentially be a bit better.
See how many runs he's had since he last ran in this race. Last year, goodness me. Snocking Star, he never really ran well in Maidan, and he's taken quite a while to come back to form here as well. And I'm still not convinced he's really truly back to himself. I know he's handicapped, probably one of the better handicapped horses in the race, but it was a weird race, that Chelmsford race. I know that the third's come out and won last night, but bar that, it doesn't look the strongest of races, and this is a much stronger race, but he's got course form. I can see the angle. I can leave him, though. Firefighting, £3 winner, £3 well in under a penalty, but again, I think this is a tough task. And Master of Finance, for me, at 3, has by far the strongest handicap form. I thought his 3rd to Collaboration and Tres Coronas at Chester was a really good run, and his 2nd to Marsu was an even better run. I think just it's handicap form. I think will stick up really well. He's only £5 higher, so he's the one for me. A couple of interesting ones though. Seagull Star was a horse I had my horse to follow last year, so we interested to see how he goes. I'm not sure if he's ready for this first time up. And there's another one at a price, Elbereth for Andrew Boarding, who I put up as a horse to follow after finishing second at Brighton. I thought she should have won that day. She didn't really handle the track, which is a worry tomorrow because it's a very similar undulating track. And she's £5 out the weight, so she's really not got much going for her. But I think she'll run well, and she's got the golden kid Eddie Greatrix up, so she'll go better than most. But I'm not that confident, to be honest. 'Cause I think she had a good handicap in her, but just not this.
For what it's worth, I do agree with you on Master of Finance. I was tempted to give Sanokian Star a chance, and it would be interesting to see if he can return to anywhere near his best form. If he does, then he should be going very close in this. But Master of Finance, the recent handicap form anyway, is head and shoulders above what Sanokian Star's produced. And it's probably a bit better than Firefighting's run in the Zetland. Master of Finance was actually meant to run in the Zetland, but was a non-runner on the day. If he can take another step forward, then you'd imagine he'll be going pretty close. And you'd have thought that Sylvester de Souza would have chosen Master of Finance over Firefighting.
Fanning would have got first choice.
Fanning would have got a choice on Sanokian Star, but then I imagine second choice would fall to
Morenon Road. I was looking at this earlier. Morenon Road Firefighting last time, so I wouldn't read too much into it.
But it's no negative.
Has he ever ridden Firefighting season?
I'm going to go with no to make me look like a prize.
I think he has. Oh, he has.
Yeah, of course he has. He rode him 3 times in a row. What are you on about?
A lot of times. Because Firefighting's having his 37th start
of this week. But it's a good handicap going up. Me and Callum with Master of Finance, and Adam with Sanokian Star. Either way, Mark Johnston has a strong hand in the race and should be going pretty close with at least one of his runners anyway. The 310 at Epsom is up next. The Investec Diamond Stakes, Group 3, over 1 mile and 114 yards. Just the 7 runners here this time, Adam, but it's a strong race. Arod was third in the lock-ins last time out behind Night of Thunder. We've also got some interesting runners with the likes of Shifting Power, who returned to form last time out at Windsor. Custom Cut, again, another very consistent horse, was 9th in the lock-ins last time, but is a group winner himself. And we've got a few up-and-coming horses as well. And of course, you can always throw in the likes of Tullius in a race like this. But Arod looks to be the one to beat on his run last time and looks an improving type.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, he dropped back to the mile. I was slightly concerned by it, but it turns out there was no need to be concerned. It was a really good effort behind Night of Thunder. The form of the race has already began to work out. Cable Bay came out and won last week at Haydock. And getting weight from Custom Cut as well, I think this is his chance to win. But in saying that, Custom Cut is one of the most toughest horses you can ever find on a race course, and I'm not sure whether the big field suited him last time out. I think small field like this is his big positive. And what I will say is, I think a reverse forecast with the pair of them, because Custom Cut could easily defy the penalty, but I think A-Rod is the one to beat. But because they both are equal for me, I'm going to put them in a reverse forecast, and I think that's the best way to do it. Shifting Power was a horse I was a big fan of last year, but I'm not anymore. I just don't think he's as good as I once thought he was, and I think he will struggle against the likes of A-Rod and Custom Cut. Tullius, we always say that he doesn't want fast ground, but I think the ground will be all right for him tomorrow, and I can see him running well, but I think the other two have got more than him. The rest, I'm not convinced about. I mean, Corliat had some fair form in France, but I think he'll need to improve to be beating the top 2 anyway. And I'm going to put up a reverse forecast. If I had to pick one, it would be A-Rod, but I think the reverse forecast is the best way to go here.
I see what you get with Arod completely. I'm just a little bit concerned about him, to be honest. He's never been the best balance of horses, and he can run around a little bit. I'm not sure Epsom's 100% his track. He ran really well in the Derby. He came 4th in that, let's not forget. But I'm still not convinced Epsom is really going to be his track. So I would have a few concerns about that, and that would probably stop me from taking the short price of 2-1 about Arod. It's not going to be a huge betting race for me anyway. Custom Cut, I can see being a little bit vulnerable under a £5 penalty, giving weight to arguably better horses. Only time will tell with that. But for the moment, they've got probably a bit more potential than Custom Cut does have. And I keep coming back to Complicit at 12-1, who he's got a bit to find on ratings. But I've seen a lot of people say that Shifting Power holds Complicit on that form from Windsor last time out, which I think is absolutely not nonsense. He came second behind Shifting Power, and he got held up, which isn't his running style whatsoever. You remember on All Weather Championships Day, he was the one that was just mowed down by Trista very late on in the day. Now, obviously, Trista hasn't really gone on to frank that form, but that was on turf. At the time, Trista was a very good horse on the All Weather. I thought that was a monstrous run. And if he can go from the front tomorrow, you'd imagine Custom Cut will also be up there with him. Then he could take some pegging back. And 12-1 each way to finish in the first two, I could see Complicit being a fairly good bet with Luke Morris on tomorrow afternoon. Again, even though he was held up behind Shifting Power last time, I still don't think it was the worst of runs to finish second, because that isn't his running style whatsoever. And if they do ride him a bit more prominently tomorrow, ideally from the front, then Complicit will take a hell of a lot of catching. Jim Crowley was on board at Lingfield on All Weather Championships Day and is usually his main rider, but he's on calling out obviously with the Fitri Hay association. So Luke Morris stands in on Complicit, and 12-1 I can see him being a storming each way price with a few doubts about the others. Obviously there are doubts about him himself, but it's not the strongest of races for a bet in my eyes, but I can see Complicit going well at 12.
No, do you right? I agree with Adam. I think, well, we said
that's a dangerous thing to do.
That the A-Rod Custom Cut forecast looks pretty nailed on to me. A-Rod, cracking run in the lock-hinge. You'd expect him to back it up. I don't see why he won't back it up, because his run before then behind French Navy was a cracker as well. He's the one to beat, but with Custom Cut being a rock-solid horse who will relish this sort of test, I think he'll run very well with Ryan Moore on board. It's just the penalties are a worry. I just don't rate Shifting Power. And those two are the standouts. So, yeah, I think the forecast is nailed on for me.
Can we just try and get to the bottom of something here on the other hoof? For the 2 years that he's been running, Arod has been questioned about what his name is. Is it Arod or A-Rod? Because I used to think it was A-Rod, because they named after Alex Rodriguez, the baseball player in America. But I've been told that it's Arod, named after something from a movie. I'm not 100% sure what it was.
One of them that... It sounds right. Both of them sound right. I'm not going to question.
Yeah, it's tough.
And again, you do it with first lieutenant, first lieutenant. So
well, lieutenant's the right way to say it. Moving on. Well, in fairness, we are English, so we will say lieutenant. You can say whatever you want. The 3:45 is up next from Epsom. Usually, this would be the time of the feature race on a Saturday, but the Oaks will be at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. The Investec Mile is a handicap over a mile and 114 yards. 14 horses go to post, and it features the return of last year's winner here, Abseil, who's looking to defend his prestigious crown in this handicap with a mark of 99, £3 higher than when he was third last time out at York. He has been gelded, Adam, which seems to have a positive effect on him last time.
Yeah, he was a horse that, when he won this race last year, he looked to have a real future. And he went and ran in the Hunt Cup, and he ran well on that occasion. But then the wheels fell off completely. They were running him over all sorts of trips. I mean, they ran him in the Bunbury Cup, which is a race that I would never go near with him. He's always looked a miler. Potentially may get further, but with his temperament, he's had a few issues. Because he's been gelded, I think he's more interesting now. I mean, that run at York was a really good effort. And he won this race last year, and I thought it was a stronger renewal. This, to me, is a lot weaker than last year's race, and I think he fully merits being that price and is the clear one to beat here. If there's one in each way price I'd put up, I think Luke will agree with me, Obsidian, who won a maiden at first. The form of that was boosted earlier today at Hamilton, and he ran well on handicap debut over a mile. I'll be interested in him tomorrow, and I'll also be interested when he goes back up to 10 furlongs for Richard Fahey. Of the rest, there's not really much that I like in the race, and I think Abseil is a clear one on form and is a clear one to beat. Does he have a Hunt Cup entry? Yeah, he does. So if he wins this, it'll definitely get him in the Hunt Cup. I think he's 35 on the list to get in the Hunt Cup. I shouldn't have an issue getting it.
He's fine for the moment. He's fine off 99. Like, no matter what happens to him, he'll run in the Hunt Cup, you'd imagine.
Yeah, it's the same route they took last year, and
yeah,
I think because he's been gelded now, he can potentially win this. Could go and run well in the Hunt Cup again and then go on to better things. I mean, we said it last year, but I think because he was still a colt, I think he still showed those coltish tendencies. Now he's been gelded, it'll be absolutely fine. So Absel's a clear one to beat Obsidian each way.
Well, there was talk of last season that Absel could potentially be a group horse, and he might still be, in fairness. He ran really well first time after being gelded last time out at York, and I thought he ran a perfectly good race that day, and he potentially was a bit better than the bare result. But in this kind of race, I think this is a much weaker affair than he did run in last time. He's a course and distance winner, so the course isn't that much of a worry. I was a little bit cautious to see him hang across the course late on in the day last year when winning this race, but other than that, he handled the course absolutely perfectly. Alfred Hutchinson's run well again since after that York display, so I can see Absel going very well. And another thing to note, I was at York that day, and I saw Absel. He was one of the horses I wanted to see for the whole day, and he just looked a little like he would really come on and benefit from that run. So I'd be hoping that he puts in a much better display tomorrow and improves on that. I would see him being a pretty viable candidate for the Hunt Cup as well. And as Adam said, Obsidian, I think, is each way value of the race, is sneaking into the handicap at the bottom off a mark of 81. I think that's still below what he's capable of. He is a full brother to fencing as well, who was a bit of a character, I would say, but he doesn't look to have those tendencies at the moment. He looks fairly straightforward to me. I don't think that the drop to 7 furlongs really helped him out last time at Newcastle. He travelled well still on that occasion, but the step up to a mile, and it's effectively a mile and a half furlong tomorrow afternoon, will help him out big time. And I can see him going well at about 14-1 for Richard Fahey and Midland Park. You're going for a different one as an each way shout, aren't you?
Yeah, I do think Absel is the one to beat, because obviously he won the race last year. He didn't particularly handle the track that well, but that is a slight worry. But his return run was a cracker. He was a little rusty, and he'll come on for it. So you'd expect him to be a massive play. I mean, he looked a different horse after he'd been gelded, so it might have just been him being a bit quirky at the time, or green, than actually not handling the track. So I think 7-2 is right. I don't think it's a value bet, but I think he's the most likely winner. The rest of them just aren't all that up to much. I mean, it's a really bang average race. The one I like is Regulation, who price-wise is tipped up, but I think people are just being put off the fact it's been running over hurdles, but it's got some top flat form. It cost a fortune. It's run at Kempton behind Realise. It was a really good run. I think that slight extra half a furlong will make a big difference tomorrow, and the return to turf. I think the more emphasis on stamina for him will suit. Adam Kirby on board. He's gone actually down 2 pounds since that run as well. That's his turf mark. Might be his turf mark. It is his turf mark. So his turf mark's £3 lower than his all-weather mark. So
you'd imagine he'd be a better turf horse than all-weather.
He is a better turf horse, without doubt. So I like him at 12-1. I think that's a really good value each way bet. But I do think Absel is the most likely winner.
Yeah, Absel's the one to beat, certainly. Just one last point about him handling the track last year. Ryan Moore had his whip in the right hand, which caused him to just edge left, and he didn't really. He didn't switch his hands anyway to correct that. He just sort of let him roll down the camber, which may have seemed things. It may have looked worse than it really was, is what I'm trying to say. But other than that, he handled Tattenham Corner very well. He handled all the undulations very well. When he was travelling on the bridle, he was going straight as you'd like. So I wouldn't have too many reservations about Absel on the course. If he didn't hang left in the final half of furlong, then you wouldn't have any worries whatsoever. But that's the last line we'll say on that. The feature race of the day tomorrow at Epsom is the 4:30. It's the Investec Oaks Affilies Group 1, over 1 mile, 4 furlongs and 10 yards. This is a very strong renewal of the Oaks, Adam. 11 horses go to post, but not many here wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Look, when you look at the race, I can confidently rule out the bottom 2 in the market, Bellevue and Qualify. I don't think they'd be good enough. I think Qualify will be here as a pacemaker for the other Aidan O'Brien horses. There's not really much pace in the race. I mean, you could have Sarah Sevilla could go forward, but we'll start with the favourite, Legatissimo. I can't believe she's 3-1, and you've got a horse that was rated 78, who won a Fair Fillies trial at Newbury, and she's a point bigger. I just can't understand that. I'd have Legatissimo a clear favourite. I'd have her shorter than 3-1. I'd probably have a half them odds, and I think she's the value. It's 3-1. going up in trip, I think it's perfect for her. I mean, I didn't give her much chance in the Guineas, stupidly, because I thought the step back in trip was a big negative. So lo and behold, she goes and wins, and instantly everybody's screaming about her for the Oaks, and I fully see why. I don't think 12 furlongs around Epsom will be any issue to her whatsoever, and she is the one to beat. Crystal Spacer was impressive, but I couldn't have her at that price. She could easily go and win tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's won. But the price, even if I knew the result, I still wouldn't back her at that price. I think she should be a couple of points bigger. She did beat a horse in that race that I like called Pomona, who heads for the Ribblesdale, and which will bring me on to my each way selection. Actually, a good link there. Pomona is trained by Luca Kamani. Lady of Dubai is my each way selection in the race. She was really impressive at Goodwood. She went in my tracker last year, and at Goodwood, she looked really balanced. She looked to handle the track really well. I have no concerns about a mile and a half for her. Being Dubai out of a Monja mare. Monja is the famous Derby sire. Sad loss for him as a stallion, which was a shame. But Lady of Dubai, I've got no issue with her. She's got a solid look, and I just think you should take note that she runs over Pomona. Luca Kamani is not really a trainer that I'd associate with having many classic runners, and she is a very interesting runner. I really like her at Nietzsche Price. Jack Naylor will definitely appreciate going up in trip, and I can see her running a big race. Diamonds and Rubies, although she was impressive at Chester, I'm just not convinced about her. Not in that way. She's got a great attitude. I'm just not convinced she's good enough for an Oaks. And maybe she stayed that day, but staying 12 round Chester compared to Epsom, I think Epsom's more of a stamina test, and being by Fascinet Rock, she could be better at a mile and a quarter. I'm not going to question her attitude. I think her attitude is fantastic, but it's just I don't think she'd be good enough. Together Forever and Star of Seville, I did have a positive look on the Musidora, but as time's gone on, I've looked back at it and I'm just not convinced by the pair of them. I think Star of Seville will stay, but I don't. And if she gets the trip, I could see her running into a place. Alnamar, the famous £5 million purchase for Al Shikab, she hasn't exactly gone with that price tag just yet, but I couldn't rule her out, but I don't think she'd be good enough to win. The reason I couldn't rule her out is because she's trained by a master in Andre Farb, who you wouldn't be bringing her over for a day out. It's the Oaks, for God's sake. So I can see her running well, but I'm not convinced. I just think it all points to Legatissimo as the one to beat. And I think Lady of the Bay each way heard it. Oh my God. Why do I do these things with you guys? I really don't know. I'm going to get that opportunity one day to play it over you two, so don't you worry.
Been waiting so long to get that right. So long to get that right.
I'm so glad I had dignity and I don't swear at you two on air. Wait till we go off air.
Cheers, Adam. Cheers. A slightly more short and concise one. I agree with Adam regarding the Musidora form. I was there on the day and I didn't really rate them in the parade ring too much. I feel that Star of Seville and Together Forever will both be fillies that will be much better next year. They were big, raw horses, but there weren't a lot of substance about them. So you just feel that they will be a little bit less confident as the race goes on for whatever reason. There's just 1 point turning for home. She sort of put her head in the air and she didn't look 100% straightforward, which round Epsom, that could come back and really be against her. But 12 to 1 that's a huge price each way for Diamonds and Rubies. She'd be the each way selection in the race. I agree with Crystal Spencer, won a handicap very impressively last time out and could be absolutely anything. But at the likes of 4 to 1, I think that's just far too short. And I know Callum's been all over Legatissimo for quite a while now since the Guineas, and I just feel that Legatissimo could be an Oaks horse that just believes that you can still get about 3 to 1 regarding her. I don't have any worries about her on the track whatsoever. Ryan Moore's taken right to David Watchman. There aren't that many negatives about her tomorrow in the Oaks. And 3 to 1 just looks an absolutely huge last time out for Jessica Harrington behind Placecock in the Irish 1000 Guineas. But that was only 12 days ago, so she'll have to have a quick turnaround from that. And the one could be on the short side regarding Jack Naylor. But everything that you say just keeps coming back to Legitissimo and points to her being the class horse of the race and a horse that will improve.
She beat a very, very good horse in Lucida, a proper miler as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They were well clear, and her stamina came into play. Her stats on the dam side, I mean, she's related to another Cocktail, which stays about 6.5 miles. Fame and Glory's in there, also, very classy horse for placing a dart. Is the draw?
I just wanted to say something about the draw.
Which I just think is nonsense.
I wanted to say something about the draw. It's a nonsense trend. There's only 11 horses in the race. It's not going to be that much of a big deal. But I went through, and there hasn't been a horse won the Oaks from stall 1 since 1990. I went through the last 10 winners, and there were 2 favourites, Secret Gesture and Aviate.
Aviate, yeah. I've literally gone through them the same.
And Secret Gesture was probably beaten by 1 horse in talent. She was by far superior on that occasion. Aviate wasn't good enough to win the race. Other than that, you're looking at horses priced at 10 to 1 and up, most of them being over 25 to 1, which it could just be the draw. The best horses weren't in it. Tomorrow, the best horse definitely is drawn in stall 1. It's just a nonsense trend.
It is crazy. It is totally crazy. Also, it's hardly like, a lot of Oaks fields are massive fields, like, high double figure fields. There's 11 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't see the draw being any. To be honest, if she was drawn 6 and it was a poor stat, say, there's got to be a poor stat for one of these other stalls, just by coincidence.
Yeah.
There'd be no fuss made about it. But because it's stall 1, it's a fuss. It's nonsense.
Stall 2 was for Kingston Hill last year, and he was kicked out, ridden handy, beaten by a better horse on the day. So
yeah, if your horse is good enough, especially with 11 horses in the field, if your horse is good enough, then they will overcome the draw. It's not that big of a thing tomorrow. It's just people trying to build up a negative against the horse that, other than that one trend against her, is pretty much bomb-proof.
If she gets beat tomorrow, this is going to come back to haunt you. You do know that.
If she gets beat tomorrow, it'll be nothing to do with the draw, unless she gets taken out right at the start.
Well, that could happen, but I don't think it will. So yeah,
it'll be nothing to do with the draw if Legitissimo gets beat tomorrow. Which hopefully
the stall doesn't open now.
Hopefully she won't. Right, that is the Oaks summed up, and the last race that we will be covering.
I didn't get to talk about any of the others. But
I thought you had done.
No, never mind. Don't worry.
The Oaks is not done yet. Callum wants to talk more.
Well, I didn't get to talk about anything else.
Yeah, you didn't.
Crystal's Vedsa, she's just such a poor price now. She could be very good, but she's just such a poor price. I'm agreeing with you. I think Diamonds and Rubies is more value than most. I thought she was relatively impressive at Chester. I think she's got a rock solid chance. I've backed Star Seville anti-post, but she's drifted. And there's not much pace on in this race, I noticed. There's not really any guaranteed front runs unless Qualifier goes out and takes it. But she's usually held up in her races, and it's her first time at the trip. And they do seem to think that she's actually quite a decent horse, so she might actually be ridden to effect rather than, as a pacemaker. But Star Seville will go out there and be prominent. So I think she will outrun her odds, to be honest. I think she'll confirm the form together forever at least. But I just think Legitissimo is an absolute good thing.
Yeah. If that's not confidence, then you're not going to get much else from anywhere else. Legitissimo for me. Your Legitissimo as well.
Yeah.
Adam?
Legitissimo.
Right, all with Legitissimo. Okay. You're each way as well as Lady of Dubai, right?
Yes, it is.
And myself and Callum are with Diamonds and Rubies, i.e. better times take 2, I'm going to call it. Right, question time here on the other hoof. If you do want to get your question or fancy in and read out at the end of the show, i.e. now, then you still have plenty of time to do it, as we will start with
last week's question that we
Jay
got.
Quinn. I'm going to guess that your name's John. It's a more racing name than Joel. And this one actually has nothing to do with the racing tomorrow, but we will allow it. The best each way bet in the Gold Cup, the Ascot Gold Cup, I assume you mean. Do you think the favourite will win? What's your opinion on Simonon?
I like Simonon.
Well, that means he's got no chance.
Shut up.
I do not see why Simonon will reverse that form with Want the Force.
He travelled into the Henry II really powerfully, and he would have needed that. And I have a feeling that Ryan Moore will take the ride. He rode him in the Henry II. I think he'll ride him in the Ascot Gold Cup. We know he stays. And in a weaker Gold Cup than last year, I think he's got a huge chance.
I really think you're
really
right.
do.
Place chance, but
Yeah.
no, I can't see him winning.
I do think you're underrating Vont de Force big time. I think he's going to improve hugely for the extra half a mile on top of that 2 of the Henry II trip.
I'd much rather be on the
Pretty well.
up and coming horse than the
well,
solid horse that, yeah.
I'd much rather be on Vont de Force from an each way perspective.
Yeah,
He's
same.
still available at about 12 to 1 as well, which is a huge price regarding Vont de Force.
I wasn't convinced he'd go on this year. To be fair to him, he has. But 2.5, I'm still yeah. I didn't think he'd improve into a group horse. I thought he'd be one of those really consistent handicappers. I didn't really see where there was a. I thought he'd hit his peak as a 3-year-old, but he obviously hasn't. I'm just concerned about the extra half mile. If he was going for the Goodwood Cup, yes.
I'm not concerned about the half mile at all. I think Vont de Force. I think he needs it.
He'll get it. Yeah.
I think he really does. I think he'll improve for it. To be honest, I really do. I'm really very sweet on Vont de Force for all the aspects.
What the viewers don't know is for my birthday present. It was my birthday the other week, and we celebrated on the show. But Luke sent me after the show. He sent me a bet that he's placed, and I get half of it if it comes off. He gets half, and Vont de Force was in it. He also put G-Force in, who I don't particularly like. But then
which is a positive.
This is basically just the horse you like.
So it'll be 2 out. It'll be 2 out of 3, and then Gameson will finish 5th in the Wokingham. That's how it's going to happen.
I want to throw in as well. I want to throw in Adam's birthday present to me was a lucky 15 for Cheltenham, and 2 horses made it. And I think the bet, I've still got the slip, returns about £2 from a 5 to 4 off Faheen.
But they were all horses you liked. Faheen.
I'm trying to help you out because your judgments are rubbish. Next question from Kai Wills. And Kai Wills' first question again for today. We are previewing the Oaks, yeah, we can say that. Abseil tomorrow, confident. Varying degrees of confidence, I think, here. Adam, you quite liked Abseil, didn't you?
Yeah. I think he's the one to beat. Clear one to beat.
Everyone agrees the one to beat. I just think there's value elsewhere.
Yeah.
There's value elsewhere. His price is fair. It's not too short. I don't think it should be any bigger. If he was any bigger, then it probably would be a value bet. But
yeah, anything around 5 to 1, I think would be a value bet, but it isn't.
Yeah, definitely.
It's farming the term value bet here, aren't we?
Mm.
Value bets.
The raters of value.
God. Kai Wills in again. Do you think Arod/A-Rod should be shorter in the market, and does he win? I don't think he should be shorter.
Price is same.
He's 2 to 1 apparently. I don't think he should be shorter than that.
He should be favourite.
He should be favourite, no doubting, because he's 3rd in the lock-ins, but he hasn't won a big race yet.
I'd have Custom Cut shorter than Shifting Power. That's the only change I've had in the market personally.
I would have Complicit a lot closer to Shifting.
Yeah, no, I probably would as well, actually, because like you said, I don't know why they held him up in that race at Windsor. It was absolutely bizarre.
I think he'd have won it if they'd have put him out.
Yeah, he probably might have. He might have, definitely. Shifting Power just don't rate.
As we're on that, we just got a question in from KJ, and it's applies here. Can we trust Shifting Power to return to his best form?
No.
What is his best form?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just
His best form was a 4th in the Guineas to Night Thunder and a 2nd to Kingman, and his running with John Pratt was good as well. And I thought he wanted to go up in trip, but then when he came back this year, I wasn't as excited about him because I really thought he'd win the John Pratt. So yeah.
Said he wanted a longer trip for a while, but he's trained by Richard Hannon and he can't train anything over more than a mile. So
yeah, he's an odd horse, this Shifting Power. He looked like he was going to be very good at one point, and he hasn't really developed into that. But if he does keep improving, then he is a very live chance tomorrow. Kai Wills, this question was sent in before the preview as well. Legatissimo, boys, would you leave her alone? We were all very, very bullish on Legatissimo. So I think
I'll do the total opposite of leaving.
Yeah. Balls deep, as our good friend Michael Andrews would say. Balls deep. Jamie Brownlow, interesting question here. Wonder if the 235 at Epsom will see a John Smith's Cup winner like we did last year with Farage when he won the John Smith's Cup. Can you see? I think we'll redetermine the question as: is there anything that's very well handicapped in the field that you can see going on to bigger and better things?
No. The only potential Rick in the market is Seagull Star. He's actually been backed into favourite, but maybe price-wise, yeah. He's the only potential Rick because, last year I think you probably just write it off.
Yeah.
But I did like him last year. I liked him when he won his maiden. He's really well bred. You probably see the stars. So yeah, out of dash to the top. So
Jamie has then gone on to say, I've got 2 in that race at 2:35, depending on the weather. I don't think it's not meant to rain, so I think you'll be fine on that regard. If you want
there's a heavy shower.
Is it?
There's thunderstorms apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
Ah, wonderful. Anyway, what about Carlo and Fat Sota, the token Midland Park course from Monsieur Brownlow each way? Fat Sota doesn't have a lot going for him tomorrow.
He's handicapped out of everything for the next 3 years, maybe.
If he's off the mark of 110 and he wins tomorrow, then he's a group horse.
Yeah.
Because he will go up for that, and he won't get into any handicaps, so he will have to go into group races. What about Carlo? Is a complete enigma now. I don't get him at all. He can run a blinder. He can run really poorly. He's just your guess as good as mine with what about Carlo.
Blinkers reach for tomorrow.
Tomorrow. They need to work as well. They really do need to work. He's also gone on to say, this is Jamie Brownlow, Epsom 310 Arod could do well up in trip. Also could boost the form of the Night of Thunder race, obviously referring to the lock-in. That is Arod, who we have had quite a few questions about. He's not that much up in trip, only 114 yards, but 114 yards can be quite a telling factor.
Every little helps.
You keep telling yourself that, buddy. But it could really help him tomorrow. I do think he could, on potential, he's the best horse in the race, and that third last time out in the lock-in was a very, very good run. I just got a few regards about him, or a few reserves about him on the course at Epsom. Wow. I don't know. Do you have any worries about Harold on the course?
He's a big brute, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
What's he? He's all.
I mean, he ran
well in the Derby, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
I haven't really got a concern. Between him and Custom Cup, for me, they're the clear 2 to be with. So
no, it's not concerned.
Fair enough. We always get one. We always get one of these. Tim McEwen. Thoughts on my call in the 750 at Goodwood?
I've got fancy in this.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, she could be interesting. I actually quite like Escrick. He was the second favourite who ran really well at Lingfield last time. I thought she could follow up, to be honest, but she might have just potentially bumped into one in my call, but we'll see, and we'll probably back Escrick. Fair
enough. So Escrick for you, Michael. An interesting one, nonetheless. QJ has come in with his first question of tonight. We read them out in the wrong order. Basic question, but how good is this Oaks looking with regards to the future? I think it's a good looking Oaks, to be honest.
I always think this and it ends up being rubbish. It's a decent Oaks.
Yeah, on paper at the moment, it looks like it could be a decent Oaks. Legatissimo does have the potential to be a very, very good horse. But for the moment, Adam, I'd say it's a pretty good Oaks.
I'd agree. And interestingly, if she wins the Oaks tomorrow, could she potentially go for the Fillies Triple Crown?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That would be. That'd be great. I'd love it if she do. That'd be first since So Sharp to do it. So that'd be wonderful. So
get over first.
Yeah, we got the small factor of winning the Oaks.
We can get over tomorrow. Probably get done a short head now. Oh God.
Yeah. Next question, Jamie Brownlow again. In the Oaks, he likes each way Jazzy Top, where she won very well in the Pretty Polly Stakes at Newmarket, and also Together Forever, who ran well at Newbury last time. Apparently, we'll swap that for York, Jamie. I think with Together Forever, who ran well in the Musadora. Jazzy Top's one that we haven't really discussed too much in depth. I think for me, she looks like a very nice horse, Jazzy Top, but just she needs a little bit more time, I think, on her side.
She's just at the moment, I just don't think her form is anywhere near Oaks class. I mean, Pretty Polly was a pretty poor race, to be honest, and the second when it got stuffed by Ples Cash or whatever his name is, Placecock. Obviously, that form is decent with her, but I just think she's average at the moment, to be honest. And ideally, I think she'll end up being a nice filly, but I think 10 furlongs is probably more her trip.
Yeah, personally, I feel that she just needs a bit more time. Kai Wills has tweeted us as well, saying that he feels sorry for Abseil having meat and 2 veg removed in Kai's words. So that is the last question we have got in for tonight. Thank you, guys, for getting involved. I know it's a Thursday show, and it was a little bit out of our usual run. Yeah, I know. I'm getting there.
I thought you were doing the outro.
No, not yet. It was a little bit out of the ordinary doing a Thursday night show, but the Oaks is tomorrow, and it is a good day of racing over at Epsom. Now, Adam, we can do our naps. Who are you siding with?
My nap tomorrow, Snocking Star.
Snocking Star.
Who do you think?
I want to go for Legatissimo as well.
I'm going for Legatissimo.
We're both going to go for Legatissimo in the Oaks.
This is where mine loses and yours wins, and I'm going to be sat here tomorrow night like.
Well, then it's nothing out of the ordinary then. Sanokian Star for Adam. Legatissimo. I apologise, Adam. That was me. Deserved by me. And Legatissimo for myself and Callum in the big one in the Oaks. Thank you for joining us tonight, Adam. We'll see you again tomorrow night.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm off now. Thank you for. I know you've had a busy day of work, but thank you for joining us again.
All right, pleasure.
Committed as always. We'll be back tomorrow evening to preview the Derby and all other races on Saturday on Channel 4. But for now, have a good day tomorrow. Good luck if following us on any of our selections, preferably with Legatissimo. We'll see you tomorrow night, however, on the Other Hoop at 8 o'clock, likely just after. We'll see you then.